Now, independent Congressman Justin Amash was a Republican 78 days ago. Today, he tweeted, Congress must have access to the whistleblower complaint allegedly involving Ukraine. Reports suggest the president abused his position by engaging in conduct that violates the public trust. Let's hear from the whistleblower so we can clear the president or hold him accountable. That is the closest we have to a Republican calling for accountability today about the allegations that the president of the United States pressured the government of Ukraine to dig up dirt on his political opponent, Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's family. Over the last 24 hours, some allies of the president have been appearing on Fox to defend the president, but no congressional Republican has managed to come up with even a word of criticism of the president's alleged actions, a word of discomfort about it. That has led Trump's conservative critics outside the administration to start asking some very sharp questions, and we will get some of those now. We are joined now by Bill Kristol. He's the director of Defending Democracy Together, editor-at-large of The Bulwark, and founder of Republicans for the Rule of Law. Also with us is Evan McMullin, former CIA operative and a former independent presidential candidate. He's the co-founder of Stand Up Republic. And Bill, I know you tweeted today that this would be a very good day to hear from publicly from some of the former Trump administration officials who would be in a position to either enlighten us about this or show us how we should be thinking about it in some ways.
Yeah, Dan Coats was the director of National Intelligence. I think did a pretty good job by most accounts of trying to keep Trump in check and trying to prevent this kind of thing. I suppose he failed to prevent this. I think he quit very shortly after this phone conversation apparently happened. One doesn't know if there's causality there. He doesn't have to reveal private conversations with the president. He shouldn't reveal classified information. He could, as you say, though, very well, Lawrence, he could help us think about this. He could explain what is really the problem here. He could explain how unbelievable it is for me that a president of the United States talking to the president of another country, in effect, asks for help in damaging a political opponent, and in effect suggests that aid won't be forthcoming unless that help is given. So, in other words, the national interest is mortgaged to the president's personal political interest. I mean, think about that. That's the key thing. You know, all the details of the IC and the IG of the intelligence community and who knew what, when, where is interesting. But at the end of the day, it's sort of like focusing on, I don't know, how exactly did the Watergate burglar discover that the burglars were there? But that's not the important thing. The important thing is what the president said, what the president did. And it really is, it's worse in a way than a straightforward criminal, send me $10 million to my bank account and I'll release the aid to you, right? That's just graft in a sense. This is really making our national foreign policy contingent on a foreign government interfering in our election, doing a favor for this president against as likely as possible political opponent. I mean, it really is unbelievable. Congress has to get to the bottom of it. But as you say, Republicans have either been silent or some of them amazingly rushing to defend the president.
Yeah, and Evan, much has been said today about the possibility of the president of the United States asking a foreign government to do him a political favor. It's being referred to most of the time as a political favor in trying to help out, throw some dirt at the Biden family and therefore hurt Joe Biden, who he expects he'll be running against. But there's something very, very important in Donald Trump's reelection campaign. It's not just political, it's personal. His lawyers are saying he cannot be charged with a crime as long as he's president of the United States. And so this is a re-election campaign to, among other things, avoid criminal charges that could happen the afternoon after the next inauguration, if it's an inauguration of someone not named Trump.
Yeah, that's right. And Lawrence, I think this is something I got used to seeing overseas, where you have a dictator come to power and commit a bunch of crimes in the process or commit them while in power, and then as a result of that become vulnerable to political or legal consequences should they ever lose power. And so it becomes all the more important that they hold on to power and they're willing to take even bigger risks or make even more egregious or illegal or unethical or just downright evil moves in order to stay in power. because for them, their freedom, their lives, in some cases, depend on it. Of course, here in the United States, the president's life isn't at risk as it might be in a third world country. We still have a legal system that generally works. And because of that, he has concerns, I'm sure, about that very issue. And so he's going to fight harder and harder and harder, and he's going to be willing to break all kinds of laws and ethical norms in order to stay in power. And especially now, Lawrence, I have to say, I think it's just clear to me that the president is now emboldened after 2016, where he received foreign help, where he encouraged that publicly to happen, after the Mueller investigation, which has been turned over, the results to the American people and to Congress. He's not really being held accountable yet, at least by Congress. That doesn't seem in the near term likely. And I think he looks at that situation and says, Congress isn't going to hold me accountable. So my real concern here is simply being reelected by hook or crook. And so he's going to be willing to do, I think, almost anything, including using the powers of his office of the American presidency to not only welcome foreign assistance, but to compel it, to coerce it. And that's what we see him doing with Ukraine. And I think we're going to see more of that. But it's all the more reason that I think efforts in Congress need to be stepped up. And we need to hear, of course, from Republicans who are just incredibly absent and cowardly in this moment. And we can talk about the politics of that, but we need to hear from them. And if they're worried about their constituents not understanding or supporting them, well, guess what? That's what leadership is. And there needs to be more of that from them. If they start talking to their constituents about why this is important, why this is a true threat to the republic, then they can bring some of their constituents along. And it may cost them their jobs in Congress, some of them, but damn it, it's worth it. And they need to take that action.
President actually said a few weeks before the phone call in question that he would do the kind of thing that people are now suspecting that he did do. George Stephanopoulos asked him if he would accept interference in our elections, help from a foreign country. He said it's not interference. They have information. I think I'd take it. Those are the words of the president. Bill Kristol, Edward McMullen, thank you both very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.